Either you clicked on this video because you're pregnant, you're gonna one day be pregnant, or you're just curious. And all three, I'm welcoming you with open arms. Hello, welcome. This is a video I wish I would have seen before I gave birth. It's funny because I don't remember everything. And that sounds crazy, but as soon as I gave birth, I just knew. I just knew these small little moments I'm going to forget. And literally within 12 hours, I was on my iPhone creating a notes app of everything that went down. And there are some things where I look back, I'm like, what? That happened? Truly? I mean, they do say your body, they actually, there's a phenomenon where you forget just how bad it was. I mean, it's not bad for everyone, but there were some points just so that you'll do it again. And I truly believe that, because thank God I have this notes app. And then also maybe 2 days later, I created this other note on my phone titled "What I Wish I Knew Before Giving Birth and Recovery." And the point of this is not to scare you, not to truly, I think knowledge is power. I went into my birth just knowing so much, and to an extent it's power, the other extent it's just anxiety inducing. But I really do hope that these points, my goal is they actually help you and you're just prepared and you know what to expect. Because honestly, all in all, I'm really glad I was pretty prepared and I knew a lot going into it, and it did help me a lot in the long run, especially with recovery, which we will get to, because that was a process. But point number one, and I know everyone says it, but please, can we just say it together? Can you say it with me? Do not have a birth plan. You can have preferences. You can have, this is what I would love to happen, but you have to be so open, because there is a large chance that things are not going to go how you want. There are many people, I know them, who have had beautiful births in the water. Not the case for me at all. At all. And that's okay. Your birth doesn't have to be beautiful. It doesn't have to be great. It doesn't have to be spiritual or fulfilling or none of that. You could have a horrible birth. I personally did not enjoy pushing. I did not enjoy. That was just, not a good time at all. And that's fine, as long as your baby gets here. And I think a lot of us are oh yeah, okay, of course, yeah. But then when you get the news that you might not be able to deliver vaginally, that's what happened to me. My baby was measuring very large, his head was measuring very large, and we weren't sure if that was going to be an option. And that's when I really had to think okay, Clancy, you said you didn't care how you gave birth. Now put that to the test. You got to be open for anything. Being induced can be amazing. I chose to get induced because we didn't want him to keep growing with how big he was measuring. And I was dreading it. I think we all just dream about going into labor spontaneously. We all dream about being well, okay, maybe this isn't the case, but at least for me, oh my gosh, my water broke, and that whole thing. I wanted that so badly. And I was looking up induction videos on YouTube. A lot of people have horror stories with that, where their bodies weren't ready, and then it ended in emergency C-section and it was just awful, or they were in labor for 36, 40 hours. And I walked into that induction literally in the worst mood possible. I was terrified. I was anxious. I was just I just felt I was signing up for just an awful next 24, 48 hours, however long it would take. But my induction, I mean, I went in overnight. I went at 1 a.m. 8 a.m. is when we really got things going. That's when they really the doctor got in. I got to see her, all of that. And I had my baby less than 12 hours later. So sure, inductions can be long and not the best, but they also can be amazing. Just like natural labor, people who go into labor spontaneously, could be great, could be not so great. So just want to let my induction gals know it's not the end of the world if you have to get an induction. Counter pressure is a game changer. When you are in labor and you're feeling those contractions before you get an epidural, and even if you choose not to get an epidural, this is truly how you're going to get through it. I wish I had shown my husband how to do it more beforehand, because he was not prepared for just how hard he would have to push. I could just tell he was not comfortable doing that, because he needed to create pain in order to distract from the worst pain, and he just wasn't realizing, and he was barely doing it. But I could just feel, I'm oh, if he could just literally hurt me, practically break my back, the pain from the contractions would be so much better. It just helps. And the thing is, if they squeeze your hips. But then I remember we were going through many contractions like that, and then I'm go harder, and he's I don't want to hurt you or whatever. And then that's when I'm calling the epidural. This ain't working with this counter pressure. So just want to put that out there. And I wish I would have done this more. Teach your husband beforehand, not in labor. Yeah. I know this can vary for people. The epidural did not hurt at all. I was nervous when they came in. Like, I didn't show it or anything, but like in my head, I was terrified. Least painful thing ever. Truly, like, nothing to be worried about. I would recommend, like, I just personally chose not to look at the needle. That could be a little intimidating. Don't look at the needle. Close your eyes. And by the way, wasn't prepared for this. It worked immediately. It phenomenal. Oh, but my next point, number 5, epidural might not work completely. This happened to me, and like, listen, it's not that big of a, well, I say that, but like, if you talk to me when I was in labor, it was a big deal. Yeah, so it was working great, but then I'd say like 3 or 4 hours later is when it wore off or stopped working in a very specific area. It was like my left, like, pelvic region side. It did not hit that area ever, never again. I was like giving myself way more medicine, and it would numb like my legs more, like all of these areas I didn't even need it to numb, but that one area, I don't know why, nothing. And it was so incredibly painful. I mean, I don't want to say nothing, because maybe it was a little bit, but I just felt a lot of pain, and that was not part of the game plan. Number 6, pushing would be the hardest workout of my life. Like, I did not know what I was getting myself into with pushing. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I pride myself in having done like a lot of research, and oh my gosh, I was prepared. Not for that. And I've seen YouTube videos where people literally like let out like 3 pushes and the baby's out. Oh, that was not the case for me. The baby's head was visible for basically the beginning, but I just could not get the head out. And it was just like, I just remember being like, there's nothing I can do. Like, I don't know, like I can't. And if I didn't work out throughout my pregnancy, I don't even know if I would have been able to push him out, because it was like, I just remember thinking, this is like 50 burn boot camps in one, like, I guess it took like a little over 2 hours to push him out. Like, it was unbelievable. Like, just craziest workout ever. And I mean, work out throughout your pregnancy if you have the chance, because like, very necessary. A natural pushing urge might come. I say might because like this might not happen for everyone, but even with the epidural. So I am just like pushing. Nothing is working. Nothing is happening. They even had me look at the baby's head. The head was there. Like, could see his head, the hair, and all of that. Just couldn't get it like out. Oh my gosh, it was just the worst. And that actually is another point. I know it sounds disgusting. I gave strict orders. I'm not looking in a mirror. Don't even think about it. I told the nurses no. They literally, because I'd been pushing so much and the head was right there, they're like, please, or it was just this one nurse, just look. Like, I'm making you look. And I'm like, oh my gosh, fine. Looked. I thought it was going to be like graphic or something. Not graphic at all. Like, just not graphic at all. And it did help serve as motivation, where I was like, oh my God, okay. Like, and it also helped me like visualize it more. So I'm telling you, even if you're like me, where I never wanted to look, if you're stuck, it can help. And then after like an hour and a half or even maybe close to 2 hours of pushing, I didn't feel anything. We took a break, and then all of a sudden I felt for the first time ever just this natural urge where I was like, I actually feel like I want to push. Like, I feel like I need to push. And after getting that urge, I mean, it was like, zoop, he like came right out once we were able to get back into pushing. We had to wait for the doctor. Oh, I put number 8, the nurses with a heart. They're going to be like, you are going to be so grateful for them. They are heroes, because being an OB nurse, I mean, you are dealing with it all. You are dealing with like the craziest of all emergencies, and you're not only caring for like one patient, like every other nurse, you're just caring for your patient, whether you work in the ER or you're a foot doctor, whatever it is. For OB, you have 2 patients. You have the baby you need to take care of, and you have the mom. And like, it's just like, if you ever meet an OB nurse, like, please just bow down to them. Like, I don't know how they do what they do, but they truly made our experience what it was. Like, I am so grateful. I still have all of their names like in my head floating around. Hannah and Michelle, you guys are the best. Number 9, Foley bulb. Wasn't prepared. I mean, I was, people said. So basically, especially when you come in and you're like not progressing, or in my case, if you have an induction, one option is to insert the Foley bulb, Foley balloon. Basically, they insert this thing up you, then they like press, like it's almost like blows up to be a balloon, and it presses on your cervix to help you dilate. I think the maximum amount is like 4 or 5 centimeters is what they're hoping for. Here's the thing. I would do it again in a heartbeat, because it got me from 0.5 centimeter dilated to 5 centimeters in like an hour. But the pain. And some people do get an epidural before it. I just didn't want to, because I know epidural slows things down sometimes, and I wanted to be able to walk a little bit. But like, it was just unbelievable. Like, I just remember like being like, I need to walk, I need to sit, I need to lay, I need to walk, I need to sit. Like, nothing felt comfortable. And I almost felt like I was going crazy. Like, I was like, this is just, it just feels like there's something up you. And it makes sense. Dilating 5 centimeters in that amount of time probably is never going to feel great. But I have to say, I would do it again because it helped progress our labor so much. And I am so grateful for that. 10, tearing. So I got a 3rd degree tear. And what I wish I knew, or what I wish someone could tell me, is that it's not the end of the world. I remember going into it, I'm like, if I get a 3rd or a 4th degree tear, like, it's game over, it's awful. And listen, it was like, it just was the worst pain that I could have ever imagined. But, and my doctor said this to me, like, literally minutes after she stitched me up, you'd be surprised how fast the body heals. And that is the truth. It took about 2 weeks for, like, the agony to go away. And when it did, it just was so much better. Really, I just had to rest. I rested for the first week. And then, like, I started walking around. Obviously, you want, like, blood to flow to the area, like, all of that. But yeah, tearing sucks, but also, like, I feel like I watched so many of these birth stories where they're like, I didn't tear, and, like, that's the goal, and, like, that's the gold standard, and I almost feel like not a failure for tearing, but I'm just like, wow, like, I don't know, I just didn't feel good, even from just, like, a mental standpoint of, like, oh, wow, that happened to me, and it's okay. Your body heals the same way, you know, you get, like, a horrible gash on your arm or a cut, your body heals. It knows what it's doing. And there are many tools to help. For example, I've gone to pelvic floor therapy just to make sure everything's good. It's not the end of the world. Don't feel like if you tear, it's like, oh my gosh. I know a lot of people who don't tear and they're actually very sore still for weeks. I can't even imagine what it would feel like to not tear. Like, that would be so immaculate. But it's okay if you do. And also, big babies, it's not the end of the world. I know people who have given birth to, oh my gosh, actually, yeah, I was just talking to my friend, gave birth to a very big baby, no drugs, nothing, and didn't tear at all. And I know people who give birth to 6-7 pound babies and they tear. So it's not just about, like, don't feel like if your baby is measuring big at your growth ultrasound, like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. I wish someone would have told me, like, Clancy, like, chill, like, it's gonna be fine, like, you're okay. I mean, technically I did tear, that was my fear, but it's fine. Number 11 is when the baby comes out, it might not be magical. Feel like for most people it is, but for me personally, it just was a lot. I mean, I was experiencing quite a bit of pain. I talked about this. Like, I think I felt myself, like, the placenta felt like something was detaching from within. I feel like I felt the placenta. Basically, I felt a lot more than I thought I was going to. And I just was like, I kind of slipped into, like, a tiny bit of state of shock. Like, Zach always says, like, you were, like, the only person who, like, didn't smile. It's not that I didn't smile. And, like, I had such guilt about this, by the way, for, like, the first few weeks of Decker's life. But it just wasn't a magical moment. They put him on me, and don't get me wrong, like, I was so happy, but I just was, like, shocked. I can't help it, and I can't feel sorry about it. Literally makes me sad to even think about. I just was, like, in pain, but that's fine. I remember reading somewhere someone wrote, like, it's like I had known your face all along, and I thought that was going to be my experience. And I remember looking at him and just being like, no, I didn't know this was your face. Like, you're a foreign creature to me right now. And it's just the wildest experience that this baby was in you, and then, like, it's just, you're like, he's here. Like, it just was shocking to me. And I saw my next bullet point, blood. I could have done without, and this, by the way, is what truly led to my shock. There was a mirror I wish wasn't there on the ceiling. That's how I was able to see everything. And right after giving birth, I looked up, and I'm not going to get into detail, but I saw a lot. Yeah, you do lose, even if everything goes to plan, blood during birth. I mean, how could you not? I just wasn't, like, prepared for how much it was going to be. And just to prepare you, if you accidentally see it, also, I really didn't need to see the placenta. That was, like, it reminded me of, like, an alien, like, yeah. So, yeah. Next one, you're gonna get real close to your husband. He actually had to help me go to the bathroom the first several times, like, which sounds crazy. And I remember one of my friends telling me, like, her husband had to help her shower, and I was like, what do you mean? Like, I literally couldn't, like, even bend a little bit, like, all of the little things that you don't think twice when you go to the bathroom or take a shower. I mean, yeah, he had to really help me, and I'm so grateful. Could not have done it without him. Like, can't even fathom. But yeah, this is not everyone, I should say, but if you do tear, or you have a C-section, you're really gonna need to rely on your husband. Oh, this one, everyone always talks about the uterus checks hurting, like, oh my gosh, and I was dreading this, which is where they need to like make sure I think they make sure your blood is clotting so that you don't bleed out. Kind of just like check on your uterus. And I was prepared for agony. A lot of people have said it does hurt them. And maybe this might just be people who have C-sections. I don't know, but it was so unpainful. Like it did not hurt at all. Most of the pain was happening elsewhere. So if anything, it was a nice distraction, but truly didn't hurt at all. And then also another thing is that if you are breastfeeding, you will experience, or most likely experience, contractions. It did not feel good at all. Not a pleasurable time, but I think it actually does help you heal faster. Contractions are good. Like you want your uterus to contract back to normal. So I think it's a good thing. It sounds like it'd be a good thing, but it didn't necessarily feel the best. But if you're like me and you're lucky and you don't know how to breastfeed and your baby is literally like cracking your nipples, and you're bleeding everywhere, it's a nice distraction from the 3rd-degree tear you are also healing from. Childbirth is great. Oh, create a food plan. Create a food plan. Do you know what it's like? I I hadn't eaten in like 24 hours, like, you know, a very long time, because you typically are not allowed to eat during birth, and pop out the baby and you're just excited. Like, give me the food. I just accomplished this. Like, this is great. Well, even though I popped him out at 7:18 p.m., we weren't done with the recovery room until like well after 9. And one of the nurses was like, do you want food? And I was like, yes. And she's like, oh my gosh, I think we have these like turkey sandwiches in the cafeteria I can get you. That was like all I wanted during pregnancy, turkey, like, because you're not allowed to have deli meat. So excited. She comes up. Sorry, the cafeteria is actually closed. But here are some crackers. And when I say crackers, you know, like when it comes in just like the little package of 2, like 2 crackers in a package. Like she brought a few of them, but I'm like, this is what I have to eat for like to get me over till tomorrow. Like this, what? Create a food plan. Yeah. This is going to be different for everyone. But for me, I should have kept the makeup at home. The fact that I packed makeup. I packed a cute little gown I could slip into like on day 2 in the hospital. Nope. No. The fact that I even got in the shower on like when we were leaving was a miracle. Makeup, laughable. Like that, no. And then I literally put my little nightgown on to go home. Like I left in the nightgown, was just in my hospital gown the entire stay. Couldn't even fathom like changing, like just every little movement was so painful. So yeah, really should have kept those at home. And then, I had a few breastfeeding ones, but that's totally separate. And I know not everyone does breastfeed, but I really wish I knew how difficult that was going to be in the beginning, because that really caught me off guard. It's just foreign. Like as natural as it is, no, not for little old me. Okay. So that was like a whole other thing in and of itself. But all in all, if you are going into childbirth, and I know I'm saying these things because I did my whole birth story and I was shocked by the amount of people in my real life, Carly, I'm looking at you, who were like, oh my gosh, that like scared me. Okay. Carly's husband texted me that her her blood pressure did like a crazy thing. I don't understand blood pressure, so I don't understand the numbers he sent me, but like did a crazy thing just watching my birth story. And I was like, what the, like, I didn't think it was that crazy, like at all. But maybe it was. I don't know. Like, I really didn't think it was crazy. And I hope that this video like can help empower you and not scare you. Like, there are certain things that like, yeah, are unavoidable with birth, but like even the tip about like maybe don't look, like be prepared that like there might be blood, and maybe don't look up like at the mirror. So I wasn't even thinking there was going to be a mirror up there. But yeah, so like if you were going into this, and like I literally texted this, well, I forget who I texted this to. I texted this to someone who was messaging me. Like if I were to go in and give birth tomorrow, yes, I'd be nervous, but I also know what's on the other side. Like as I was going through it just a few months ago, I'd never met Decker. I'd never met a baby that like I just gave birth to. If I were to give birth to a second baby, just knowing, oh my God, I just got the chills. Just knowing like what is on the other side, that would be even more motivating. Don't get me wrong, I was excited to meet Decker, but new moms or any moms can relate to this. Like you think you know how much you love your baby. You love him or her so much when they're in your belly, and then you meet them and you're like, oh my gosh, I would do absolutely anything for you. Anything. Like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I've loved documenting my experience as a new mom. So be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more real, raw, and everything in between videos. I also like to document it all on Instagram as well. So I will have that linked below. It's just Clancy Burke. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.